The question as to the meaning of the word fraud in the Australian statutes had been frequently raised. Two distinctions have been noted by the Australian courts. The first is the distinction between the meaning of the word fraud in the sections relating to the conclusive effect of certificates of title and its meaning in the sections relating to the protection of bona fide purchasers from registered proprietors. So the second is the distinction between legal, equitable, or constructive fraud and actual or moral fraud. In none of the groups of the sections of the Australian statutes relating to the conclusive effects of certificates of titles and in which fraud is referred to, is there any express indication of the meaning of fraud, with the sole exception of that of the South Australian group. Now, discussed area. With regard to the decisions on the sections relating to the conclusive effect of certificates of title, titulo, it has been held in some cases that the fraud there mentioned means actual or moral fraud, not merely constructive or legal fraud. In other cases, fraud has been said to include constructive, legal, and every kind of fraud. In other cases, again, knowledge of other person's rights and the deliberate acquisition of registered title in the face of such knowledge has been held to be fraud, which rendered voidable the certificates of title so obtained. Voidable meaning it is valid until voided. And voluntary ignorance is, for this purpose, the same is knowledge. But in none of these three classes of cases was there absent the element of intention to deprive another of just rights, which constitutes the essential characteristics of actual as distinguished from legal fraud. So there must be the element, no? It must be the case when it is grounded on fraud. It must prove the element of intention to deprive another of just rights, because you have to arrive at a level where you can prove actual fraud as distinguished from legal fraud or constructive fraud. So by fraud is meant actual fraud, dishonesty of some sort. So the same meaning should be given to the fraud used in section 38 of our statutes, referring now to Act number 496. So ang atong balaod sa una with respect to land titles. The question as to whether any particular transaction shows fraud within the meaning of the word as used in our statutes will be, in each case, a question of fact or a question of law. So what did the Supreme Court say? Is it a question of fact or is it a question of law? So we will discuss that in the next episode.